I'm Dan Baden. This is Peter Jenkins and Lee Willis. The three of us are at CDC. We have been toying around with this idea since April of the CDC Health Campaign. We submitted a proposal in, May? And the Secretary of Health and Human Services herself picked this as one of 13 projects across all of Health and Human Services. So we've got some pretty high visibility. She gave us money. We came and talked with Andrew and John and Ben Sawyer, if you know Ben Sawyer from the Games for Health project. Put all that together and came up with this idea. So September 20th to 22nd, as you know, we're going to hold the game jam. And I want to just talk to you a little bit about what we're thinking about. I'm a family doc, I'm a game designer at CDC, but this is all about you guys. We are looking for you to come up with health-related games. We have 6 main topics. There's going to be several subtopics as well. Those are basically, let me know if I forget any, teen pregnancy, tobacco, nutrition, obesity, food safety, motor vehicle injuries, HIV, and hospital or healthcare-associated infections. So those are the 6 main categories. We're going to get you a bunch more information when you come on the Friday, the 20th. A lot more detail and that type of thing. We're hoping you'll all come together, you'll make your teams, and on Saturday between 11 and 4, we're going to have CDC scientists there in each of these topical areas, and they'll be able to work with you, give you content, details, how much calories does this have, different things along that line, as well as context. What challenges may a diabetic have with certain food or insulin or different reactions? How would it all work? What would be realistic? So you can put that into your game. And then Sunday we'll go through the review and we'll pick 5. Those 5 will move on to Siege, and we will then pick 1 more out of those 5, and that one will get a paid internship at CDC at the end of the year. So there will be prizes that scatter out throughout the game jam itself, more of a raffle type approach. The ones who get 2nd place, there'll be 4 2nd place teams. We'll have gift awards for them. I think they're Amazon or something along that line. And then we'll have paid cash prizes at the Siege itself, as well as pay for you attending the internship. So it's a neat opportunity. Those are the topics. What questions do you have? I'm going to hand it off to Lee here in a second. He's going to go into more of the context of what we're looking for in games, basically behavioral change and knowledge and those types of things. That's his purview, not mine. But before we get there, do you have any questions about the overall topics or how the thing will roll out or anything along that line?
Can you repeat the 6 topics again?
I will try. So HIV, healthcare-associated infections, motor vehicle injuries, teen pregnancy, obesity, nutrition, food safety.
That's a triple.
That's 1. And tobacco. So those are the main ones. There's going to be some other ones, but those are really 6 of CDC's main focuses right now. What our director is really trying to accomplish. She calls them winnable battles because they're significant efforts, but they are achievable, or good progress in those areas is achievable. What other questions? Yeah.
So are you looking for more like a drawing awareness kind of games or training type things for like professionals in the field already?
I'm going to jump
Okay,
in.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll talk about that in just a second. But it's really open. I mean, there are going to be some games that'll be more, I guess, awareness raising. There'll be some that'll be like skills building and training. It's just kind of a variety. It's just whatever you all decide to do. I'll tell you that we need all types of games. It's not just one type of game that we actually need. But if, John, could I get you to come and unlock the computer, and I'll just go into my presentation. And, okay. Again, I'm Lee Willis, and I'm a behavioral scientist in the Division of HIV/AIDS Prevention. I'm not a coder, I'm a casual gamer, but I am a technical. So, hence my interest in this particular effort. Behavioral Sciences in the Division of HIV/AIDS Prevention, and we'll talk to you about, what our goals of this effort are. Okay, so number one, we want to create some type of game, or want you all to create some type of game that leads to change in one or more of the following areas, either cognition, knowledge, the development of skill sets, which ultimately will lead to the change in behavior of some sort. And we want to make sure that games influence the adoption of healthy behaviors and skills that are consistent with disease prevention. And that can span a variety of different topics and a variety of different areas. That can be accomplished in a lot of different ways. Now, there are many ways in which games can influence these in consumers. Talking about both the general population, so, people who are non-public health, non-clinicians, and things like that, but also looking at trying to build skills within the health of the public health care workforce, including clinicians in particular. So, how can games be used for health? Well, I'll give you a little crash course on public health and health promotion in particular. So, what we know as health promotion is the science and art of helping people change their lifestyle to move towards an optimal state of health. And that's from the Journal of the American Journal of Health Promotion. So, who does that mean? Well, it can be the general public, it can be, patients, it could be those people who are living with disease currently, just in particular. Now, in terms of what else can we use games for is for skill building. So they can be, teaching tools for the public health workforce. So educating, building skills and awareness to the public and healthcare workers. So I'll give you a few examples of some of the games that we kind of did a scan of and just found that are health related. So how many of you have seen this game right here? This is the CDC game. Okay, so obviously you've seen it, of course. The Solve the Outbreak app. It's actually a game that I believe was it people in your division? Yeah, the electronic media branch of CDC came up with, where very, very widely downloaded, very successful, where it actually walks you through how CDC epidemiological intelligence service, those people who go out and investigate the different outbreaks that you hear about in the news, cruise ships, restaurant outbreaks, like those sorts of things. How do they actually solve those outbreaks and figure out what are some of the root causes? So it walks you through that. This game right here, now I don't know if you can see it well, deals with traumatic brain injury. So a lot of times when people have had a traumatic brain injury, they have a hard time actually, remembering facts and just doing simple menial tasks, putting things in order and things like that. So this game, kind of can't see it as well as I would like, but you're actually putting together different airplanes. So this will be the assembly line, so you have all these different pieces, and your goal will be to build an airplane just like that. Now, it might look very, very simple and very rudimentary and easy to do for you all who have not necessarily had, traumatic brain injuries. But for someone with a traumatic brain injury, this is a really, really big deal. It's a very hard process as someone recovers. So this next game here is one, and this was created by Blue Marble Incorporated. Both of these two games on the bottom. The top one was CDC. This is a physical rehabilitation game to actually help elderly people once they've fallen or they've had surgery to help them regain their balance. You can kind of see you have people that are attached to sensors, and they're supposed to mimic the actual poses and movements that are on the screen. Okay, so those are 3 examples. Now we've also run across this game that's called Play Forward, Elm City Stories, where this is actually a really neat project that I actually met the creator. And what it is it's kind of like almost a first-person shooter kind of narrative thing, except it doesn't have the shooting in it. It's just like you kind of experiencing a particular environment. These kids actually came up with these different scenarios that they run into every day in terms of, violence, drinking, drug use, like sex and all these different things. And your goal is to somehow successfully to navigate this particular risk environment. So this refers primarily to HIV and STI. And we also ran across this game, Remission. All right, how many of you have heard of Remission? Okay, so a lot of you have heard of that. So this deals with, cancer prevention. And someone wants to explain the premise? of this particular one?
My understanding of this, it was a game developed by Hope Labs, aimed at teenage and young adult cancer patients. They then did a study, and they had some people play the game, they had other people play another game, other people play another game, and they were able to demonstrate that the ones that played this game had better adherence to their medical regime. What that means is they were able to tolerate taking all their chemotherapy or other medicines appropriately rather than giving up or different things along that line. They had a better understanding of their condition, and they also felt more empowered to impact their own medical care. So those are three fairly significant successes out of a game. I mean, I used that, what was it, Monday or yesterday when I talked to Washington about this.
Okay, so that's a great example of cancer prevention in gaming. Now, the final one down here, this is more of an epi game. I know you all probably seen this one, right? Plague Incorporated, and it's kind of like an anti-public health game, at least if you think about it at first. But your goal in this game is to actually be a virus and to kill everybody in the world, right? So I've actually found myself playing like, yes, I'm going to try to kill everybody, I'm going to wipe everybody out. But, okay, I mean, as a public health person, it's very antithetical to what we do every day. But there are a lot of different public health messages that are contained in the game because you have to be smart with the virus. You have to understand, do you want to start in a country that is actually having like a airport as well as a seaport. You also choose what are the ways that you want it to be spread. How severe are your symptoms and all those sorts of things. So we actually had the guy who created this game come to CDC, and he talked about all of the things that he used to actually create some of the objectives for this particular game. So how can we use games for behavior change? Well, we know that behavior, me as a behavioral scientist, I found that behavior is influenced by the following things. So number one, knowledge. So we need to raise awareness and increase the public's understanding of different public health issues. Also, it's related to attitude, so influencing health-related dispositions to act in a certain manner specifically. All right, and then beliefs, instilling health beliefs that are consistent with prevention. I'll talk about each one of these more in depth, as well as behavioral intention. So that's just like the influencing of people to actually do behaviors, and skill building. So teaching critical skills that builds proficiency. So with knowledge, okay, so we have facts or information that is acquired through education or vicarious experience. So specifically health knowledge. So these are facts or knowledge about health that are acquired through experience or education or by association. So here we want to provide health information to educate the public to offset any knowledge, lack of knowledge and or myths. So it instills and reinforces correct public health knowledge. So if you do, X, it may cause cancer. There's a lot of myths about how cancer is caused, for example. What are some of these other health myths that you guys might have heard? Now, we've all heard them. What are some of them? Yes, sir.
If someone has a concussion, don't let them sleep.
You said what now?
If someone has a concussion, don't let them sleep.
Right. If someone has a concussion, don't let them sleep. And that sometimes may or may not be true. What's another one? A commonly held one.
Vaccines cause vaccines cause autism.
Right, yes, absolutely. Vaccines actually cause illness.
Getting a cold gives you a cold.
You said getting cold gives you?
Being in the cold gives you a cold.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, sir.
You can only get mono by kissing someone.
Right, you can only get mono by kissing someone. Okay. All right. Yes.
You get STDs by sitting on a toilet.
Yep, you can get STDs by sitting on the toilet. Yep. Yeah, believe me, I've heard them all. I've heard a lot of things. I've heard one, well, I won't go into that. There is an earwax myth, all right? How many of you ever heard this earwax myth? Now, this is way out there, ladies and gentlemen. There's one that basically says that a man can tell if a woman has an STD if he digs into his ear and gets some earwax and puts his finger in her vagina and it tingles. Yes, people believe that. Okay, see, now you see why we need you guys. That's where we are. different things that the public just doesn't know or that they have myths about that really need to be corrected. Okay, so attitudes. Okay, so attitudes, you know, can be, you know, indifferent, positive or negative views towards something, the result of judgments that people make consciously or unconsciously. All right, so for health, you know, their attitudes towards health issues. So they can be, you know, violence, mental health, exercise, nutrition, you know, cancer, all those things. So we want to influence attitudes so that they're, again, consistent with disease prevention. All right, so someone may say, I'm not concerned with nutrition right now. Well, given that I'm young, I don't need to eat healthy right now. But we know that that actually has consequences down the road. And games can be used in a persuasive manner to change attitudes. Now, in terms of beliefs, all right, so that is the acceptance or faith or confidence in the attitudes and knowledge that we hold is correct. And so you see with the earwax myth and things like that, people really actually believe those sorts of things, right? So we need to actually address that. So health beliefs are very important. So this is one of the areas that really poses a significant problem for disease prevention, as there are many incorrect health beliefs and or myths. So, you know, the apple a day keeps the doctor away. Is that true? No. Obviously not. All right, it may be good for your teeth, but, you know, not going to totally be a situation that keeps you healthy. The other is that you can look at someone and tell that they have an STD. All right, or they have HIV, and that's really not true. All right, there are some visible symptoms, but a lot of times there's none. You know, I can text and drive just fine. Now, how many of you are guilty of doing that? All right, more than would care to admit, right? All right, a lot of people do that, but that's one thing that we tell ourselves, and that's very, very harmful. So games can be used to expose these false beliefs and myths in a less threatening manner, because one of the things that we find in behavioral science is that if you challenge people and say, if you don't do this, you're going to die, people don't like that, all right, because we all have a little bit of an ego. Well, who the hell are you to tell me, you know, what I'm doing is wrong? But if it's done in a game, it can be done in a lot less threatening manner to the ego in many ways. Okay, so behavioral intentions, and that is to engage, intentions to engage in the correct behavior. So when individuals have knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs that are consistent with health promotion and disease prevention, it normally will translate into intentions to engage in the said behavior. So I know that X is a threat to me. I can prevent it through engaging in the said behavior. Therefore, I intend to engage in this behavior to prevent this particular disease. There can be many barriers to engaging in this particular behavior, and games can show them how to address barriers. Okay, so skill building. There's a need to build new skills. I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So the public health workforce, you know, to enhance their ability to do their job, interacting with clients, interacting in a manner that can help them deal better with emergency situations for the general public, to enhance the ability to engage in health behaviors, things like condom negotiation, how to interact with doctors, as well as rehabilitation. Now, the important thing, so you all are great, fabulous game designers, so we would just want to make sure that we strike this delicate balance. So while we want to make sure that there's health educational content in the games that we have to create, you know, we recognize that games need to be fun and engaging for the player. Otherwise, they won't enjoy playing it once, let alone repeatedly. So try to make sure that there's a balance between entertainment and the educational portion. Okay, so the goal again is to create games which changes the behavior of consumers with the public health workforce, consistent with our disease prevention efforts, and your work will be a very valuable addition to the public health armamentarium. Okay, so any questions? Yes, sir.
We're going to have this deck available between now and then for people to review.
Absolutely.
You put it up on the GGDA Facebook page.
Sure. Absolutely. I will send it. Any other questions?
Can you give some examples of games you don't think have met the challenge particularly well? You don't have to name the games, just talk about them you've seen in games. You don't think did a good job if they were trying to get it.
What do you think? Come on up, Peter and Dan. I'm not going to be up here. Come on.
A simple quiz game where if you answer this question about STDs correctly, you move to the next question.
Right.
I mean, okay, we got enough points, all right, you got your STD badge level 1.
Exactly. Like, that's what STD.
I like that, that was my idea.
Yeah, STD hangman or triple, something like that. Like, it's just not gonna do it. I mean, it's whack. Like, no one's gonna wanna really play that repeatedly, all right? I mean, you know, maybe people are really interested in public health, but I think that that's a really good example of a game that may have, you know, missed the mark. I think that too often, some of the things that we'll produce just can be overly like preachy and overly filled with educational content, all right? So it's really important for you all to keep the balance. I mean, we don't want, you know, a whole lot of information just jammed into the game, but if you have a few like simple messages, that may just be enough. I mean, you can ask your subject matter expert more questions about what they think or how much needs to go in the actual game, and you can use, you know, your own judgment as well for that. Okay.
I guess an opposite end of the spectrum would be Madden football. Madden football incorporated the concussion regulations that the NFL came up with, and CDC worked with the NFL. So that's a way of getting health messages out where, of course, you're not going to put your star running back in after he gets his bell rung. You don't want to lose him for the next week or the rest of the season.
Right.
Because you're going to do poorly in the rest of the game.
Right. And another example too is I think that there was a side mission in one of the Grand Theft Autos where your character actually became infected with an STD, and your actual health meter began to drop if you didn't go to see a physician or a clinician actually. So that's kind of another example how it directly will impact, you know, your gameplay in mainstream.
And these don't have to all be video games. They can be board games, they can be role-playing games. There's all sorts of possibilities. Drinking games? Well, are you drinking water?
Yes.
Or what else?
Oh, you have a question?
So you're saying the games, well, it's good for them to have a certain message. They don't have to be based around the core ideal aspect of what you're talking about. You're saying,
Well, let's talk about the judging criteria.
because yeah, the one based around the core would obviously have a better shot.
Yeah, so 20% of the judging will be based how well you incorporate the health concept. You're not going to be eligible for the prizes if you don't have any health aspect incorporated into your game at all. So that's a given. Just so. So 20% is how well you incorporate the health aspect. 20% is how innovative the game is. So if you have something that just knocks everyone's socks off, like, wow, why didn't I think of that? That's going to score well. If you've got Doom, shoot the banana. That's not that innovative. So 20% is for that. You've got 20% for the art and visual and auditory aspects to it. You've got 20% just gameplay, and then 20% is actually going to be your team composition. We're trying to have people who come together and make their teams at the event, so you don't have 5 people from one game company who've been working on a game for 3 years and say, hey, here we go. We're looking for new things brought together by this event. We're looking for cross-university teams, if you have students or universities, multiple universities mixed with some industry professionals, etc., that type of stuff. And you had a question.
About sometime last year, I heard about these outbreaks. I'm not sure what kind of drug it was, but it caused these realistic zombie people running around. I don't know what drug is that called.
Bad sauce. It's called bad sauce.
Can we do that? Can we do that?
So you could potentially make a game about bath salts.
Oh yeah, just so you know, CDC, we do not have a zombie plague. I know people ask that a lot.
Wait, so the Prions have mixed games?
Does that mean we can't make a qualifying game involving a zombie planet?
No zombies.
If you get creative and work, you know, zombie in there, I think it's fun.
Really, really bad at zombie.
Zombie here, well,
Higher than up there.
So, just to be clear, like it can be any area of health. It doesn't have to be these 6, but
those are the ones we're going to have subject matter experts there for you. We'll have CDC scientists there for you to talk with. We're also going to provide you with links, and you've got some of the material here. Links to information, data, any of that type of stuff you want to incorporate. So we're not expecting you to spend half a Friday night figuring out how many calories does a cheeseburger have versus a milkshake and that kind of thing. Don't worry about that. Just figure out how you think the game should come together and then get the details from the subject matter experts.
You said what now?
It's not funny, but I was saying you could do it for a zombie game, you could do it like an I'm Legend, from a movie where it's like a rabies virus versus
Still zombies.
And just so you know, Will Smith came to CDC for some training before that.
Yeah, he actually did.
And Contagion. was
Yeah, I was
filmed.
gonna say Contagion was shot on location at CDC.
Yeah.
I know of a game that was made by one of the University of California schools, but it was a zombie game related to tanning booths. So, tanning booths. That was their idea. I'm not saying if it was good or bad or not, but so people have done that. Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think we probably want to stay from, excessive goriness, profanity, like those sorts of things. Peter, do you have any guidance about that?
Yeah, that's some contest rules, violence or
Nudity, profanity.
defamation.
Can you define or give examples of violence, like what's acceptable and what's not?
There's some provisions that we can reject a game if it's too much harm or something, but violence per se isn't necessarily rejected.
So like a first aid game would likely have a lot of blood in it, but that's not the purpose of the game. You're not looking for gratuitous violence. But like if you were doing something related to emergency preparedness, a bomb blast or something like that, it's going to be very violent, but you're not going around trying to place bombs and things like that.
Some out of it. I think maybe a good guide, and I'm speaking on your behalf, maybe from an external perspective, they're looking to make a positive impact. And is your game influencing these goals positively? Perhaps internally that's a good judge to say, is this something that the CDC can use publicly to raise awareness and to improve people's quality of life and health? That could be a good guideline if it meets that. Yay, if not gratuitous and maybe inappropriate.
Other questions? Yes.
Do you have a list of past? I saw some screenshots of past games. Those are the ones that y'all approved and that were started.
No, these were kind of that we are aware of. We have never done these.
Right. Yes, you guys get to be pioneers. This is the first time, CDC and HHS has ever done anything like this.
But there's lots of serious games out there. Again, that can help you, but we are looking for innovation.
Of course, yeah.
And I don't know if we talked about this much. The people who are going to be doing the judging will be us as well as health companies that make health-related games. So if nothing else, this is a chance for you to get your work in front of companies that potentially could employ you in the future. So there's lots of benefits from this event. Did you have?
Just got a quick question. So with your judging, this question was the past game in, are you still doing a video or are you not going to put your hands on all the games?
I think video was the plan.
It's an issue of scale. For those of you who've done these in the past, we've had about 200 people. We're looking at 300 this time. And it's not sustainable or tractable to actually have people hook up their laptops and play these things on Sunday. Speaking of zombies, everybody's pretty zombified by Sunday at 5 o'clock. So, 60-second YouTube video to demo. I think there was some talk, though, of some hands-on doing a bit of prejudging, whether we can work that out or not. We'll announce that on Friday when we kick off. Since this is the first time, we want to be flexible and make it work.
We'll need your help, and that's one of the things we're going to ask you. What did you think about this? So you're going to be asked to give us feedback.
And so in the meantime, everyone should have my email because I've emailed you from the Eventbrite sign up. If you've got some grand, awesome, hey, I've done these jams in the past, and I think someone cynically on January said, so I don't have to make a good game, I just have to make a good 60-second video. Hopefully not. Hopefully you transcend that and you actually have something to back it up when they come out. So if you've got a suggestion about how to improve this process, we're more than willing to hear your input beforehand. We can make this run better next week.
So the video potentially get you through the game jam, but then to get through Siege, we're actually going to...
One thing also to remember is that the judges do wander the floor during the time when you're putting these things together. The thing is, we want them to actually see what your final product is, not be judging what they saw along the way. But if they saw you were really making games, you're making with a non-interactive video, that really needs to see.
Yep.
So you do want to have a game, and certainly for the top 5, that game's going to be played between the jam and Siege. So
I'm looking to plan.
Well, that exactly is my suggestion, that the judges, I guess, before everybody makes their presentation, the judges make their rounds, so that not everybody has to set up their laptop. But give it about an hour, and every judge could feasibly see everyone's game, and at least get a feel for it, because we're making games, not, videos.
That's a good suggestion. What we've run into in the past is people are scrambling furiously in that last hour trying to fix the one killer bug that's going to ruin the whole thing. So, I know Andrew and I are going to talk in a minute about best practices of jamming, because we've not done this before. And one of the things is to not wait until the last 5 minutes to hit the compile button for the first time. Right, so, but yeah, ideally what we'd like is to be able to vet these projects as well as possible on Sunday.
We should probably finish up. There's a question here, and then maybe finish up over here. Okay. Go ahead.
What I was wanting to know was, will there be a video that we need to show of our game, or will we have a prototype made of our game on Sunday to show the judges? What would you like completed by Sunday for us to input?
both of those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need a video of showing.
Yeah.
It's not a concept video, it's you work for 47 hours, and then you shoot a 60-second video. You can slice it up and transition and so forth. It doesn't have to be continuous. But it's 60 seconds capturing what you built. So it's not a, this is what we would do in the next 2 weeks. It's this is what we did over the last 40 hours.
I don't know if I'd use the word.
Did you say there was going to be investors present?
There will be companies that have made health games.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd call them investors, but they're people who work in this area, and you'll have the chance to expose them to your work.
You might have been confused with what I said earlier, where the Games for Health Day at Siege runs at the same time as our investment conference, or their game investment conference.
Yeah, because I was wondering if, you want us to focus on making a standalone game or something that's going to, I guess you can create an online community for it and it's more long-term. That's what I was wondering.
I think, I don't know on that, actually. My gut would say do a standalone type game, and you're welcome to say, here are our plans for doing more in this end of people.
Right, right. If you have a compelling reason as to why you want to do an online community, you know, and you can make it work, I think that would make sense.
So, well, we got two more, and then I want to make sure they have time as well. So let me go here and then down here.
Are you guys encouraging use of peripherals like the Xbox Connect?
We're planning on having, what, 4 or 6 Connect set up, so if you want to go down the Xbox path, we'll facilitate that, or we're very open to it, but it doesn't have to be that way. We may have some Microsoft prizes as well for people who do go down that path, but it's not going to be for the best Microsoft prize. It'll probably just be a raffle type approach then. But you definitely don't have to go that way. And I think we'll finish it up here.
Are there any restrictions on tools or technologies that can be used to actually build the game?
Deferring.
Anything that is not free for you to use. Nothing that you are using illegally or where the copyright belongs to somebody else. So, I mean, the standard jam rules are pretty much in effect for that.
Okay, so Creative Commons licenses.
Creative Commons license, free, yeah, basically.
The other side of that is that all of the content that you're using should be original, or it should be, properly
Credited.
I guess the question was, can we do I'm Legend? You probably don't want to lift images out of that movie and use it because you don't own that IP.
Yeah.
And it would be very difficult for, you to be a qualifying winner and let's go build on this game if you don't own the actual assets.
So just as our final shot, this is some of the goodies that we've already received. This was from Autodesk, and we've got other companies that are providing this type of stuff, and then we have
Autodesk prizes, probably Microsoft prizes.
gift cards and that type of thing. So good stuff. I've got 2 nanos, hard to beat. 2 nanos and a touch. We know those will be going out. We're trying to acquire more things. A lot of these will be given out as raffles. Those types of things will be given out as raffles throughout the whole event. Just making this fun as we can. Thanks, everyone.
I might actually have the YouTube video, some of the last game jams. I don't have the videos, but I have the links to YouTube. Yeah, if you want to see what some of the videos are that work that show games, like check out the blog, the links from the January event. So this conversation is kind of a little bit about best practices. How many of you have done a game jam already? About half. About half. All right, who's been on a winning team? There we go. We'll sit down, let them do the best practices conversation. So what worked well for you guys?
I think from our point of view is you want to make sure that you're not looking at this massive game. You only have 48 hours, so you want to make sure what you're going for is precise. You start there and then you have extra time.
Building off of that, you pretty much design what you know and work from there. You try to boil this down to the simplest idea you can, so that once you actually achieve that, everything else is just, icing on the cake.
Starting small is a grand idea, and coming up with a key mechanic and sticking with that is a really, really good point. Yeah.
Don't lie about what you can do.
To yourself, yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I've only done one game jam, and I ended up winning the entire game by myself because both my teammates lied about their abilities. Just, if you can only do one thing, but you do it well, or even if you don't do it well, but it's one thing you're good at, just say it. Doesn't hurt to just admit that you're only good at one thing.
Part of the judging is how intermixed the teams are. So certainly you can say, oh, we're all SPSU, we're all SCAT or whatever. But ideally you'd like to mix talent. And if you've done one of our jams before and you've got lots of people, the first one we did I think had 14 people. It was really easy to know everybody and what they were doing. And now we're going to do the sticker system again, where green is programmer and red is artist and so forth. So you got some idea. And then we're going to do the whole mixing around, the socialist team pairing. that comes out of the Nordic Jam system, right? I didn't invent that. They had a nice process. So we'll do that, and absolutely, I mean, be honest. Don't say, yes, I can, code Diablo 3 in 4 hours.
It wasn't that bad.
It took a while. 6 hours, yeah. But yeah, I mean, be upfront about it, because you're going to have people relying on you. So, have some defense there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and grab your question and yours, or comment.
Save often.
The power goes out.
Dropbox and Google Drive.
Well, our system here, a lot of people are going to be using our computers, which are on a deep freeze system, and every time they're shut off, we'll completely erase everything, boot up from an image. Well, last year, a number of people, including our team, didn't realize that the automatic updates were running. So it auto shut down to restart to install the updates and rebooted to a time at which they did not have the updates. So we lost our data maybe 3 times before we caught on.
I guess a good philosophy is that the computer technology is out to kill you, and you can't. So do everything you can to defend against that.
It's like an SPD.
Terminal SPD. I think we're going to have a running theme.
And just a really quick comment. I mean, 16 gig flash sticks are, what, $10 now. You got Google Drive, you got Dropbox, you got all sorts of free ways to back it up, double back up if you can. Richard.
Definitely spend the first hour or 2 planning. Don't just dive into it, because if you do that, you're just going to get lost and not know where to go. You really have to sit down with your team, and someone needs to sit down and plan out what you're going to do and make a timetable of when you can get stuff done by, or you're just going to run out of time.
There was actually a group that came, so if you didn't hear what he said, it's, plan it out. Take an hour just to design and think and figure out how this is going to work, rather than, all right, static void main, let's go. Not a good idea. Actually, the team led by Casey from UGA a couple of years ago, they actually built 3 games in 48 hours. Right? So it's possible to actually realize, hey, we're going to build one and then toss it out after 12 hours and iterate on that. So out of those 3, maybe 1 or 2 is going to be of quality. So definitely plan and go small. Good advice.
Another hand up, or else we'll start going to our spiel. I will throw out some things we've seen over the years. I think the main one has already been touched on. Really know what you can accomplish and really keep it tight. Don't gold plate. You all come in here, we do have skills. We know we can do good AI. We know that we can do maybe a new graphics engine. We know we'll have great pathfinding. We know we can do all sorts of different things in it. Don't try and make everything perfect. Do what you can do well, get that in. Don't make everything beautiful. And really, really keep concise what you're doing. Be really guard against the urge. And every game developer, no matter how old or how new in the industry, really wants to start putting things in. Every time you make a game, the ideas just keep coming. Limit that as best you can. You do only have the 48 hours. Don't put every good idea you get into the game, because it will not work.
I guess to follow up on that, you do have 2 weeks after this event before the siege judging. So there is time to refine and polish and improve slightly. So it's really, can we come up with that nugget of awesomeness and pull that off in the 48 hours and focus on that?
Right. Yeah.
One thing that Ian Schreiber said that was a good idea is to throw away your first 3 ideas, because chances are they're ideas that other groups have thought of as well.
So STD zombies, that should go straight out.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're having a theme on top of the health themes, right? Or are we?
Yes, so there'll be a slight constraint. I mean, so you've got these broad categories, and if you jammed with this before, there'll be one thing that you need to incorporate, regardless of what you're doing.
So that will be announced at the jam.
And that'll be the surprise. So you can't work for the next week and a half and say, yay, we got. That's kind of antithetical to the point.
It's not zombies.
Zombies is not
It is zombies, that's
But also there's part of this judging is the innovativeness, right? How many times have you played a zombie game? Yeah. Go with something interesting there. You might do better.
Let's talk briefly about team building. One of the issues which we've all seen and we've already had reference, our teams falling apart, people having to leave the team, people not working out in the team. I think it's not that difficult to figure out early on if there's someone who's not a good fit, especially if you're that someone. If you're not fitting on a team
and you're seeing that in the first few hours, it's better to go up then and get with a team where you do fit, rather than try and keep butting heads until Sunday morning. So do take an honest assessment of how am I fitting in. You don't know, they don't have to be your best friend. We want you to meet new people, but you should be able to work with them. Yes, part of where creativity comes from is conflict. So you do want that conflict of ideas. You don't want that conflict of personalities. So as long as there's a chance, you're going to throw out ideas, neither idea that you first throw out will be the final one put in. It will change. It will go through metamorphosis as you work together. That's great. Be glad to see your idea change. It will get better when it's honed on somebody else's stuff. If your work can't go with what the other person is doing, to deal with them, then you want to start looking sooner rather than later to form a new team, or perhaps even do your own team.
And all these guidelines that we're kicking out are just that.
Right.
You know, there's no wrong way to do a jam unless you just don't show up. So if you arrive Friday and you're doing some cool stuff, and then it all collapses Saturday, just kick off an entirely new game. See where you can go with that. I'll speak practically now for a second about getting some sleep and eating right. Amazingly enough, and I say this every time I say this, I don't want to jinx myself, but we've run these jams for 4 or 5 years now with hundreds of people coming through them, and we've never had anyone get hurt.
Yet.
Physically. Yeah. The worst is someone got physically ill because they'd eaten nothing but garbage for 36 hours or so. So we're going to have, not surprisingly, we're going to have healthy choices for you to snack on. I mean, we are. We're going to have fruit. We'll have bottled waters, we'll have juices and so forth. So if you've got something that you want to be munching on, bring what you know. And also you need to get some sleep. So you can come and go. You don't have to stay for the whole 48 hours. If you need to leave for a few hours, that's fine. We'll have some rooms that'll be dark and quiet off in the spot. You don't have to sleep on metal couches. Bring a sleeping bag and a pillow, and deodorant and a toothbrush is also advised. So basic hygiene is a very socially conscious thing to do. Please take care of that. And if you're not here on campus, there are some local hotels. Get a pool of people together and share the shower and so forth. That's a good thing. So just think practically about it's really not healthy, and you're not going to be productive come Sunday if you haven't slept for 2 nights. So pace yourself.
And the jam does tend to go in stages. So you'll have a lot of spurts of really good effort coming into it. You'll have other times when you feel like you're banging your head against walls, you're having to throw away stuff. But do keep in mind the goal times. You do want, by Sunday morning at the latest, to start putting together the video. Preferably be thinking about the video Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and getting something together for the final, and to have the real game done on Sunday. Because once you're done, we're also taking that prototype and start doing the final judging between the 5. So you'll still have time to work on it. We want to start looking at it from that prototype on. So it really does need to be working at the end of the top 5 teams. And even if you're not in the top 5, you can still keep working on the game. So, no reason to stop there. Any of you other former jammers have any other thoughts you haven't put out there yet? Things that worked, even things that didn't work for you and your team? Do bring your own machines. There are machines here. You'll be much happier on your own.
Extension cords are your friend.
Whenever they announce that there's food, go get it. It won't be there very long. So,
I mean, we'll do dinners both nights. We'll do lunches on Saturday and Sunday. We'll do breakfast.
Sandwiches or whatever. We'll get one.
Yeah, I mean, we say line up, and we try to police it. But yeah, we're not going to buy 9,000 Chick-fil-A sandwiches or 9. So yeah, we partition it out. You need to say when we're going to have dinner or when we're going to have lunch. Don't come an hour later and assume there's going to be stuff there. That'd be kind of skanky to leave it out that long anyway. Probably don't want to be eating it then.
That being said, I don't think we've run out of food here.
We haven't.
Not here.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that just makes sense, right? We say dinner's at 7. You should probably be somewhere around the food room at 7. That makes sense. Jay, comments?
So I just want to encourage on the point of working on your games after the event. So I did some research on the Global Game Jam in January. I'm still compiling the data, but it turns out about 20% of the people who participated in the Global Game Jam went on to continue to work on their games after. And about 5% of those people actually were able to commercialize their game.
5% or 5%?
About 5% of the Global Game Jam participants went on to monetize their games. So this is, while it's a fun event, that's what it should be, a learning event for everyone. And I just want to encourage you to take it seriously in the sense that there's a lot of opportunity here for those of you who are interested in, continuing developing of your games. There's a lot of great ideas that come out of it.
And winners in global have turned those into careers in the game industry, be it with other companies or even their own projects.
So I just give out one other piece of knowledge, just that you time and time again, is just time management is a big, big deal. So you see a lot of teams fall and show up with nothing on Sunday because they didn't watch the clock, they didn't watch the time and set goals. One thing that we've done on our team several times is we just set goals. So in 2 hours we want to have these 3 things done. Just keep monitoring that so that when we hit Sunday, you might actually have a game completed that morning that you're just polishing all day long. Those are some things to really watch because a lot of people forget about the clock and it's that rush 30 seconds before you have to turn it in, try to get those last couple things.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to have 1 or preferably 2 people designated to watch that. I mean, a larger project will have a producer who's one of the primary jobs is to make sure that schedule gets hit, and then they'll have an associate producer to make sure the producer makes sure that schedule gets hit when it's supposed to get hit. So don't be afraid to designate that within your own team, 1 or 2 people who will keep an eye on it and remind people.
I guess as part of that scheduling, everyone here, we're going to post to this this blog and the GGDA site, this information that you've gotten tonight. But one of the other takeaways is remember that there's going to be content experts around 11 to 4. So you might get some basic capability and say this is kind of where we're going with this, but then be flexible because you might get some really good ideas from those content experts come Saturday. That's an amazing resource for you. So make sure that you're availing yourself of that. And I think, Jeff, you can confirm this, but we've done this in the past. We've got Berkeley College of Music doing...
I'll double confirm that.
Okay.
They said they were interested.
So if you've jam listened in the past, we've had some voice talent and some audio composition talent. They'll be working remotely again with us. So if you have concept of what you want done audio-wise, have that available and ready to go, early Saturday or late Friday, so that you can toss that up to them in Boston. They can kick on that and give it back to you later that day, Saturday. Again, this is a great opportunity and a great resource that you have. And some of the really successful teams in the past have leveraged that talent. So make sure you do as well. It's amazing what they're able to come up with. That said, if you're an audio person, awesome. You'll be popular here. We have multiple teams. Yeah.
So Dan, it sounds like we need a couple extra subject matter experts on zombies from the CDC.
So you do
Please shaking his head. You're doing it.
All right, well, one more question. Go ahead and do it.
Subject matter experts are here 11 to 4.
I think, wasn't that the case?
That's where we're aiming at.
11 to
So
4
they're not
Saturday.
on Friday.
We'll be around pretty much throughout the whole event. We're going to bring some content you can peruse. We'll give, so like for teen pregnancy, what are the big issues that are hard to get across? Different things along that line. What general concepts, and then you get much more details on Saturday with the subject matter experts.
I guess as the final thing, I want to reemphasize the fact that it doesn't have to be a digital game. So I know some folks might not be super experts in programming or digital asset creation. That doesn't prohibit your creativity, and you can create amazing games